Mossad and Tinker. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date is Thursday, August 10th, 2017. Yes, there is some rain out there earlier today in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It's just going to be wavy on and off, so folks in the area, please stay dry. Plus, I'm at CJ's Java Lounge, located at 400 Southwest 1st Avenue, Suite 1, along the New River of the same city, right off the southwest section of the Andrews Avenue Bridge. Yes, so been just keeping tabs on what's been happening, even with the conflict with North Korea. I do see a sign of order of chaos. The banksters, in my view, really want this to make it happen. And I know there's been reports that China's trying to defuse the situation on both sides, which, of course, the mainstream news don't want you to know about it. And I'm not saying I'm lovey-dovey with these countries or their government, to be very sincere. Once again, just folks want some sympathizer. However, no one wants to go to war in these areas, even if they do a conventional attack or they use nuclear bombs, Lord willing, it will really devastate that whole area, and including the jet stream along the Pacific coastline. Remember, a la Fukushima, if you even study history of World War II, when the United States had like bases along the Aleutian Islands in Alaska, the Japanese, what they done, they had hot air balloons tied up with bombs, and they took it to they lifted up to the jet stream, and just get ready to go, just drop, and boom, just bombed, and it actually hit some towns, believe it or not, villages. So just to give you a little historical fact. So I'm going to be mainly focusing on a couple of articles that's actually from newsbuds.com, and it's members only content. And so just hit newsbuzz.com, subscribe to this great network because it's people funded, no sugar daddies, they don't roll over belly up for the corporations, etc. Subwell Evans is really brilliant, not synopsis, and post many of them in there too. Peter Lee, Kurt Nemo, and they had one gentleman named Pi Ian, which he did actually his debut was Stroke of Money and Fear, and it's entitled Bitcoin as Conditioner, Rolling Out One World Currency. He puts historical synopsis on there, philosophical as well. And he did a real good job, so I give him a thumbs up on that. You got, like I tell everyone, always observe responsibly, stay vigilant. That includes never leave all your eggs in one basket. So check it out. If you haven't been a member of NewsBuds, please subscribe to them. It doesn't hurt. It's for a good cause. If you donate money monthly, that's awesome. This time I donate money when I have a chance, and it's worth it. So all you folks out there, make it happen. Let's be NewsBuds, be one of the best news sources of information on the internet, because we all know about the war of information. Is going to be, expect a lot of censorship. They talk about on Facebook, Google, and of course the Anti-Defamation League is involved. You know, the giant organization based out of the UN Plaza in New York City. Yeah, we are, like I said before, Abraham Foxman is nothing more than a treasonous coward and a fraud. And I'm not hesitant to say it, not because he's Jewish by faith, but a Gino, a Jew in name only. But I'm not here to go bashing people that are in that group or creed. It's just individuals based upon their actions, content of their character. That's more like it. So a lot of stuff is going on, but the truth of the matter is, let's just get down to the nitty-gritty here. This is by Subwell Evans, and this will be a little bit of a long segment here. This one's entitled Israel's Mossad Replacement CIA as Handler of Libyan Strongman Khalifa Haftar. And this is actually an exclusive from the NewsBuds. So I'm going to narrate this down I can and give you my pinpoint. It may not be better than Subwell's, but I like to throw my viewpoints in there in good faith. So it says here, a recent revelation, albeit quietly by choice, has been trickling under the popular Western-dominated news radar. This underreported to the point of outright censored expose has to do with Israel secretly providing weapons and military assistance to Khalifa Haftar, commander of the Libyan National Army, or the LNA, anchoring for that. One of the factions is in the so-called Libyan civil war. Libya has remained in a state of war for over 6 years since 2011, with the Western concocted and directed uprising led to the demise of the country's leaders, Colonel Muammar Gaddafi. The strongest faction in war-torn and chaos-ridden Libya is in the eastern-based Tobruk-led government, which is affiliated with the NLA, whose commander is Field Marshal Khalifa Haftar, an old adversary of Gaddafi who lived in the United States for several decades and became a U.S. citizen before returning to Libya in 2011. How nice is that? If you bend over for the establishment, you can get the red carpet and a ticker tape parade. In February 2011, the UN Security Council adopted Resolution 1970, which prohibits the export of war material to Libya. Only 2 months ago, in June 2011, the United Nations accused Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates of violating the embargo by providing secret military assistance and weapons to Haftar and the NLA. The panel of experts which report on violations of sanctions across Libya said Haftar's forces had received aircraft as well as military vehicles from the United Arab Emirates and had built up an air base at Al-Qadam. The annual UN report provides rare detail on the level of outside intervention in Libya, where foreign backing for rival armed camps is widely seen as having accelerated conflict. The United Arab Emirates have been providing both material and support and direct support to the NLA, which has significantly increased their air support available to the NLA, it said. The UN report included satellite imagery of Al-Qadam Air Base, about 105 kilometers, which is 65 miles east of Benghazi. Between July 2014 and March 2017 show a gradual buildup of infrastructure and aircraft, including drones, most probably operated by the UAE. The panel said it confirmed a delivery of 93 armored personnel carriers and 549 armored and non-armored vehicles to the NLA in the city of Tobruk in April 2016. The personnel carriers likely included Panther T6 and Tigra models, both made by companies based in the UAE, the report said, were delivered by ship from Saudi Arabia. Yet despite recent reports establishing Israel as a supplier of war material and air power support to the NLA Haftar, there has not been a peep from either the United Nations or the Western media outlets. Here are a few excerpts from this highly significant revelation. Khalifa Haftar, the military commander who controls the east of Libya, has reportedly been receiving Israeli military aid following meetings with Israeli intelligence that were allegedly mediated by United Arab Emirates. So you could say don't be surprised if some of our foreign aid from the United States, is part of that military aid. Think about it now, my friends. A higher-ranking military source in Haftar's forces told the New Arab on Monday that the controversial UAE-backed military strongman has held secret meetings with Israeli agents over the past 2 years. Coordination between Haftar and Israel has been ongoing. He had held talks with Mossad agents in Jordan in 2015 and 2016. The source, who spoke on the condition of anonymity out of fear for his safety, said the meetings, which appear have been mediated by the UAE, were held in strict secrecy, he said, adding that he has seen documents that revealed Haftar met with Israeli intelligence agents going by the names, I was about to say nicknames, but his names, Ackerman and Mizrachi. Source said that Haftar's self-styled Libyan National Army has been provided with Israeli military aid in the form of sniper rifles and night vision equipment. The intimate partnership and military intelligence coalition between Haftar and Israel are not as secret as the media outlets recently reporting on a claim. For instance, only a month ago, on July 5, 2017, it was openly reported that one of Haftar's ministers and close associates, Omar al-Gharari, had met with Israeli officials in Greece. However, the word secret was inserted in the title. Libyan minister met with Israeli officials in secret meeting. An East Libyan minister has been pictured meeting with two prominent Israelis over the weekend. The Minister of Media, Culture, and Iniquities for the General National Congress. For the General National Congress in the Eastern Badia Authority, Omar al-Gharari, who is linked with the Field Marshal Khalifa Haftar, secretly attended a conference on the right of return for Libyan Jews in Rhodes, Greece, according to the New Era. Held at the Rhodes Palace Hotel between 29th of June and 2nd of July, the conference focused on the 50th anniversary of the last exodus of Jews from Libya after the 1967 war with Israel. In picture, Gharari is seen standing next to Yael Bar, the deputy speaker of the Israeli Knesset, which is a parliament, as well as Israel's Minister of Communications, Oya Kara. Not only that Haftar has been linked with Israelis before, he previously paid $6 million to use the services of the Canadian lobbying firm Dickens & Madison, headed by Ari Ben Manash, who is an ex-junior officer in the Israeli intelligence. The U.S. Department of Justice had published the contract of $6 million U.S. dollars that was signed last year between the Israeli businessman Ari Ben Manash and the Libyan side that was represented the head of the House of Representatives, Agila Saleh, commander of the HOR Army, House of Representatives. This is interesting. HOR Army, General Khalifa Haftar, Abdul Razik al-Nahari, and Murad al-Sharif. Hopefully I pronounced those names correctly. According to the contract, which was published by the U.S. Department of Justice, the Libyan side has hired Ben Manash's firm, Dickens & Madison, to get them the support of the U.S., the EU, Russia, and the UN for the army of the HOR under the leadership of Haftar to succeed in his war in Benghazi. Montreal-based Dickens & Madison is run by notorious lobbyist Ari Ben Manash, a former employee of Israel's military intelligence directorate. It's worthy mentioning that Canada-based Dickens & Madison is under management of the Ben Manash, who is Iranian-born Israeli businessman. Yeah, this is pretty cute here, huh? Conflict of interest? Oh, yeah, absolutely. He was previously an employee of Israel's military intelligence directorate from 1977 to 1987 and an arms dealer. He now lives in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and runs an international commodity exporting firm, Traeger Resources and Logistics, Inc., according to online Wikipedia. Just a few corrosive glances through various Israeli defense-related news and analysis sites make Israel's view and support of Haftar overtly clear. Last February, Israel Defense published an analysis titled "The Global Strategy of General Khalifa Haftar," and you could link that too. A lot of links on this site, so please take the initiative on looking at it. Be a subscriber and all that good stuff, okay? It would be impossible to miss the value Israel placed on Haftar, turning him from a dictator, CIA puppet in Libya to the only hope and salvation against Islamic factions and movements threatening Israel's interest in the region. In fact, the analysis assumes an accusatory and scolding tone towards the United States' recent semi-abandonment of Haftar. However, in the naive mentality of the major international decision makers, only Khalifa Haftar's Libya Libyan National Army was the true enemy of national reconciliation. The former U.S. Secretary John Kerry referred precisely to the former Gaddafi protege when he said the battle of individuals having only their own interests in mind jeopardized the security of Libya. We know for a fact that, for some strange alchemy, the former Secretary of State stated the exact opposite of the truth with haughtiness and self-conceit. Hence, we can infer that Haftar's forces were inviolable to eliminate the jihadist militants in the Sirte region, which, however, is a fact. Moreover, the meeting of the African Union held in Brazzaville on 30th January last, Siraj, hope I pronounced these names correctly, forgive me, said he wanted to create an anti-terrorist unit to this end, and he could meet General Haftar. The agreement that al-Siraj has in mind is certainly the appointment of Haftar as Commander-in-Chief of the Joint Libyan Armed Forces, but above all the preservation of his Tripoli government and his current job. At least by capitalizing on his international connections and support, namely this armed prophets of the West. The role played by Israel in Libya, including its military support of another dictator initially supported and installed by the U.S. CIA despite the direct violation of the UN Security Council Resolution 1970, does not seem so secret or covert. However, the blanket blackout by the Western media is eerie, considering how the same media has been making one sensational, accusatory splash after another against Russia for trying to insert its own influence in Libya. Just check out the title alone in the article published by Russiagate junk news player Huffington Post. Russia is emboldening a Libyan strongman who could dictate the future of the country. And it gets better. And this is sarcasm, okay? With the subtitle for the same article, Khalifa Haftar could be the next Assad if the US and the EU don't act fast. Exceptional. We can do what they can. Exceptional. It's just hilarious. I'm just so sorry about this, my friends. You know what? I get a big kick out of it, and you know what? I love her sarcasm and humor at times too, because it is totally ludicrous when you really observe this more thoroughly. Now I'm going to proceed. I'm almost done here. 6 years after the revolution that drove former dictator Muammar Gaddafi from power, Libya remains deeply divided. Now Russia is fueling another military strongman who's threatened to make the situation far worse. Let's check out a few more excerpts, okay? The situation far worse for Western power in Libyans, and what would be a major blow for the democratic hopes that sparked the 2011 Arab Spring uprising. How the international community responded, especially on the heels of a U.S. strike against Syrian President Bashar Assad's government, could be critical for the future of Libya and the surrounding region. Amidst this chaos, Khalifa Haftar, U.S. citizen, ex-Libyan military officer who once served and later turned on Gaddafi, has emerged as a key influencer in the country. If he plays his cards right, Haftar may have the fate of a nation in his hands. As early as 2014, I called for the overthrow of the Libyan General National Congress and for the arrest of all elected officials and the tactic used worldwide to delegitimize political opposition. He labeled his internal opponents terrorists. Even launched a military assault on the Libyan parliament building in Tripoli in an attempt to topple the elected government there. Running out of options, Haftar has now turned to the Russians for help fighting off Islamists, preventing him from solidifying control. Recent reports indicate that Russia, which benefit from having an authoritarian leader like Gaddafi in Libya, may be providing Haftar with military assistance and forming both the armed and surveillance equipment. And there are already reports of Russian forces massing near or on Libya, with Russia denounced at the state media, accusing of the West of exaggerating the Russian influence. Many other similar, also identical headlines are being used by Russian-Gate, Create, Junk, Mainstream sites to vilify Russians for possibly meddling in Libya and possibly weaponizing Haftar's military, or is it actually paramilitary unit in Libya in violation of the ever hypocritical toothless UN resolution to sample a few, look at this, and this, and you know what, please, let's do it. Then there is this complete silence and blanket censorship on Israel Haftar coalition, secret armed transfers from Israel to Haftar, and even $6 million lobbying arrangement between Haftar and Israel. Exceptional. If it's Israel, that's the case. Exceptional. You know? Alright, where were these outlets when Haftar was transported from the U.S. to Libya by his CIA handler in 2011 after more than 2 decades long grooming in Langley, Virginia? You see, up until 2014 when the supposed fallout between the U.S. Haftar forces occurred, you only had sites like this trying to expose documented factual background on Haftar. And then came the 2014 fallout, and once given the script by the handlers, you had the mainstream scream, bloody CIA man Haftar. And you could just look at these links, okay? Considering Israel's track record in the region, from playing both sides to far more nefarious false flag creation, shouldn't the international community and the media be paying more attention to the not so secret Israeli double game and weaponization of Libya that some manufactured Russiagate connection with the far-fetched spill over in Libya? In a matter in which Israel's Mossad tricked the United States into attacking Libya was described in detail by former Mossad case officer Viktor Ochatrowski in The Other Side of Deception, the second of the 2 revealing books he wrote after he left Israel's Foreign Intelligence Services. Woo! Interesting, huh? The story began in February 1986 when Israel sent a team of Navy commandos and miniature submarines into Tripoli to land and install a Trojan, a 2-meter-long communications device on the top floor of a 5-story apartment building. The device, only about 20 centimeters in diameter, was capable of receiving messages broadcast by Mossad's LAP, Loama Psychologic, psychological warfare, or disinformation section. Yes, propaganda at its finest. Mind control 101. Fake news. Can we specify some more? You can send your comments on that. Please don't be shy. On one frequency and automatically relaying the broadcast on a different frequency used by the Libyan government. The commandos activated the Trojan and left in the care of a lone Mossad agent in Tripoli who had leased the apartment and who had met them at the beach in a rented van. By the end of March, the Americans were already intercepting messages broadcast by the Trojan. Ochatrowski writes, using the Trojan, the Mossad tried to make it appear that a long series of terrorist orders were being transmitted to various Libyan embassies around the world. As the Mossad had hoped, the transmission were deciphered by the Americans and construed as ample proof that the Libyans were active sponsors of terrorism. What's more, the Americans pointed out Mossad reports confirmed it. The French and the Spanish, though, were not buying into the new stream of information. To them, it seemed suspicious that suddenly, out of the blue, the Libyans, who had been extremely careful in the past, would start advertising their future actions. The French and the Spanish were right. The information was bogus. He continues. Operation Trojan was one of the Mossad's greatest successes. Trotsky writes, it brought about the airstrike on Libya that President Reagan had promised. He doesn't mention, however, the apparent direct result of the Mossad success, the bombing of Pan Am Flight 103. Despite the refusal by mainstream American media to revisit the well-documented facts presented above, they contain some obvious political lessons for the United States. For example, the U.S. government might decide to continue its sanctions on Libya in retaliation for the death of 270 victims of the Pan Am bombing, regardless of the verdict of the Scottish judges. In that case, however, true justice will also require the imposition of similar U.S. sanctions against Israel for instigating the U.S. bombing of Tripoli in retaliation for the bombing of Libyan discotheque, a crime which Israelis knew from the beginning the Libyans had not committed. So, this is why you have to look at things a lot bigger. And even the folks that have this pro-Israel mindset, they got a lot of rogue elements in their government that want to be instigators, want the United States to be their bellboys. Go get them, okay, boss. They want to be their armed, artillerized peasants. And Trotsky even admit that in his book. So I'm gonna add that to the memo, okay, on this. And this is why I find this really disturbing. How come the mainstream news is not putting it out there? Because they are Uncle Toms and Aunt Jemimas to those particular entities. Mossad, respectfully, is part of the One World Order agenda. Maybe some good people, got some good folks in there. I'm not gonna condemn everyone that works with those particular groups, that particular organization, but you're always going to have rogue elements everywhere you go. It's nothing new. Nothing new at all. It's been going on for thousands of years, or other words, millenniums. I say, cut the foreign aid to Israel and the rest of the world. And the United States got to stop playing the lapdog for one particular rogue entity. And that's how I see it. It's not being anti-Semitic because, hey, a lot of people in Libya are Semites. Think about it. Let that sink in. Palestinian folks, a lot of them are Semites. Or that whole area. This is why I find this condemning, and I am real critical. If you're a bellboy or a bend over Bob, you'll get respect. That's what they're saying. As long as you play ball, we'll pat you in the head like a good boy. All right, I'll be back for my other segment, so stay tuned. I am going to try to add that, before I go, I'm going to add that the other side of deception, see if I can find it, and I'll be back. All right, I'm back. Yeah, so that's why I know repeat myself, but to your first-time listeners, I recommend look up Federalist Papers 2 through 5, written by John Jay, about the dangers of foreign influences. Okay, so this man had great foresight in this, and of course George Washington mentioned this as well on his farewell address. So that's why I always tell folks, hey, I always support a republic, not an empire, nor a corporation. I support common defense instead of imperial offense. Okay, so I'll just make that clear. So the next one came from NewsBuzz again. I did add the site on here too on getting Victor Travosky's book, The Other Side of Deception. So I add that to the footnotes and check it out. Buy it. That'd be great. All right, so next one here came from NewsBuzz again. It came out yesterday by Kurt Nemo. Another exclusive by NewsBuzz. McMaster ready for a preventive war against North Korea. And as it reads here, on August 5th, President Trump's National Security Advisor, H.R. McMaster, said the United States is preparing to attack North Korea. When you're asking is, are we preparing plans for a preventive war, right? McMaster said in a response to a question during an MSNBC interview, a war that will prevent North Korea from threatening the United States with a nuclear weapon. And the president been very clear about it. He said he's not going to tolerate North Korea being able to threaten the United States. If they have nuclear weapons that can threaten the United States, is intolerable from the president's perspective. So of course we have to provide all options to do that, and that includes a military option. The propaganda media reading from a government script insists North Korea is now capable of striking targets in the United States. Corporate scriveners and for teleprompter readers on the Alphabet Network tell us North Korea is now an imminent threat. Pyongyang has revealed 2 types of ICBM during military parades. The KN-08, which can fly 7,000 miles, and the KN-14 with a range of 6,000 miles. Newsweek breathlessly reports it now appears that a significant portion of the continental United States is within range of North Korean missiles. A former Korean analyst for the CIA, now ensconced at the Heritage Foundation, told The Guardian. If you know about the Heritage Foundation, not really that prestige. Sidelined by the historical reportage is the fact that North Korea has big problems with this missile program. On July 28th, North Korea launched what is described as an ICBM. Adkit Panda, a senior editor at The Diplomat, tweeted the missile launch from Mopyeongni in the Chagang province reached a 3,700 kilometer, which is 2,300 miles apogee, and a 1,000 kilometer, 620 mile range. Panda is said to have cited a U.S. source for the data. The missile apparently landed in the Sea of Japan. The test flight was, however, a complete failure. After 47 minutes of flight, the missile burnt out upon re-entry, thus demonstrating North Korea is unable to deliver an ICBM warhead. Moreover, the Hermit Kingdom has yet to master missile guidance and navigation. A previous missile test on the 4th of July was also much ballyhooed by the media. James Kiesling, who works at the Office of the Secretary of Defense, threw cold water on that missile test. He said effective liquid-fueled ICBMs are launched from silos, not trucks like the North Korean missiles. Kiesling and colleague Ralph Salvesberg wrote on an analyst on July 21st. Kiesling and Salvesberg concluded the July 4th missile was not an ICBM capable of striking the United States. The North Korea missile clearly lacks any design margins to grow to the sort of performance that a real-purpose designed ICBM boasts. It's too small and too close to zero payload at useful ranges. The HS-14 will not be threatening San Diego now or in 2 or 20 years. True, at low payloads, the HS-14 payload range capabilities exceed the arbitrary 5,500 kilometer range value, but it's not really a useful IBM. Joe Pappalardo, writing for Pop and Mechanics, said the July 4th missile was not an ICBM. He described the missile as a hodgepodge, an old missile with a second stage grafted to it to extend the range. As for guidance necessary to hit targets, the author notes North Korea probably can't build a system accurate enough to target cities given what we know about their access to Scud-class guidance. North Korea would need improved guidance technologies and demonstrate they can be integrated with an ICBM range missile. Add to this fact, North Korea cannot develop a nuclear missile capable of withstanding the rigors of reentry. Michael Ellerman, a missile expert with the International Institute for Strategic Studies, writes a number of critical questions remain about how soon Pyongyang could field a reliable weapon, and not the least of which is whether or not North Korea can shield a nuclear warhead from the rigors of re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere at ICBM velocities. Another problem is the ability to miniaturize a nuclear weapon to fit on an ICBM. The United States has not seen North Korea demonstrate an ability to miniaturize a warhead. Department of Defense spokesperson Peter Cook said in 2014, the assessment was backed up by photos of North Korea's attempt to miniaturize published in the North Korean Rongdong Sinmun newspaper. South Korea's defense ministry concluded Pyongyang does not possess the technology to create a functional miniature warhead. Interesting there, right? Oh, absolutely. I gotta get a shot of water here, so hang tight. Sorry about that. North Korea's ICBM and miniaturized nukes claim are all bark and no bite. In March 2016, Kim Jong-un was photographed with a small ball-like device South Korea claimed was a miniaturized nuclear warhead. It's probably a mock-up. Kim Jong-un wouldn't be anywhere near the real thing, explained Melissa Hanham, senior research associate at the James Martin Center for Non-Proliferation Studies. North Korea is notorious for fake propaganda designed to convince its enemies that it can advance nuclear player. In 2016, for instance, a California-based arms control nonprofit group examined footage of a supposedly successful North Korean missile launch. Although the KN-11 appears to eject successfully, which is an improvement over November, we think that a catastrophic failure occurred at ignition. The DPRK has manipulated the footage in an attempt to obscure this result, but one clip plays for 2 frames too long, writes Catherine Dill on her Arms Control Wink blog. In April, it paraded missiles to the mark of the 105th anniversary of the birth of the country's founding president, Kim to some. I suspect they all might be mock-ups aimed to impress the outside world, remarked L2 Woo, a senior analyst at the private Korea Defense Network. BBC footage of the parade shows some of the rockets appear to have nose cones that wobble. North Korea's nuclear missile and missile programs are not, as much of the establishment claim. Intended for the first strike in America and its allies. Appearing at the globalist Aspen Institute formed last month, Trump's director of national intelligence, Dan Coats, averred that Kim Jong-un is not crazy and not certainly suicidal. Coats said Kim Jong-un has some rationale backing his actions in developing nuclear weapons and systems to deliver them. Burden as that effort is, the 33-year-old dictator has watched, I think, what has happened around the world relative to the nations that possess nuclear capabilities and the leverage that they have and seen, and having a nuclear card in your pocket results in a lot of deterrence capabilities. The lesson that we learned out of Libya giving up its nukes is, unfortunately, if you had nukes, never give them up. If you don't have them, get them. So the whole thing is like, hey, we'll be ready to go. In 2003, Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi agreed to eliminate his country's weapons of mass destruction program, including a decade-old nuclear weapons program, as part of an effort to normalize relations with the West. When the Obama administration and NATO intervened in Libya in 2011, Gaddafi tried to use his voluntary disarmament as a bargaining chip to end the attacks on his country. They did not persuade Obama and NATO to cease operations, and as a result, Libya fell and Gaddafi was brutally murdered. It's impossible to overstate the danger associated with a rogue, brutal regime, McMaster told Hugh Hewitt during his interview. Indeed, the North Korean regime is a danger, not the United States, but its own people. Neocons and Republican war makers, most notably South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, are actively encouraging President Trump to attack North Korea. I know why, so he can get his stocks on the military-industrial complex and shoot up so he can retire happily. There's a military option to destroy North Korea's nuclear program and North Korea itself, Graham told the Today Show. He's not going to allow President Trump the ability of this madman Kim Jong-un to have a missile that could hit America. I can see Lindsey Graham on the front line, but let's see how tough this pissant is. If there is going to be war to stop them, it'll be over there. Graham added, if thousands die, it's gonna die over there. They're not gonna die over here. He's told me that to my face. Trump's Defense Secretary James Mattis has admitted an attack on North Korea would be catastrophic and would place allies in the United States in a region at extreme risk. The North Korean regime has hundreds of artillery cannons and rocket launchers within the range of one of the most densely populated cities on Earth. on Earth, which is the capital of South Korea, which is Seoul to be exact. Mattis told CBS this faced the nation in May. The regime is a threat to the region, to Japan, to South Korea, and in the event of war, they will bring a danger to China and to Russia as well, he said. But the bottom line, it would be a catastrophic war if it turns into a combat and we're not able to resolve the situation through diplomatic means. I guess I got flip-floppers there, huh? Although Trump campaigned as a non-interventionist, since taking to the White House, he has followed the path of previous administrations, especially in regard to North Korea. It stands as a pivotal link in the total war mentality has ruled in America since the end of the Second World War and the beginning of the Cold War. The instability in Korea has, for several decades, lined the pockets of those who profit from business of war. Indeed, the Korean War rehabilitated a U.S. economy geared, as a result of World War II, toward total war, writes Christine Hong. Far from being an intractable foe, North Korea has repeatedly asked the United States to sign a peace treaty that will bring the unresolved Korean War to a long overdue end. Unfortunately, the merchants of death and their collaborators in Congress and the White House are not about to let that happen. You know, I could tell these people here, those folks in Congress, I want your ass to the front line for the Second Korean conflict. I'm going to see how tough you folks really are, especially all these loud mouths out here. I watch on CNN all these idiots like Blambo Rubio. I could just go ranting on here all day, but I'll be digressing you guys to death. This is very disturbing. That's why when you get this fear factor, you just try to throw it in their faces. Throw it, just trying to mudsling it. They're the enemy. I'm not too crazy about this Kim Jong-un. Alright, so that whole area has been like saying the Korean region. I want to see that place end the war, end the friction. I can see Korea unite as one, where our brothers and sisters in that nation from both sides dismantle that demilitarized zone and live in a spiritual, prosperous manner. Not going to be perfect based on the conditioning, but in a period of time, it can be resolved amongst themselves. And they get all these demagogues, these dogmatic buffoons that want to go to war to get a hard-on for it and climax for victory. Any questions? Look at Hillary Clinton said about Muammar Gaddafi. I don't have to say it. Her actions are self-explanatory. Just to give you an example. So all these idiots out there want to go to war in North Korea, I want you to go on the front line. Let's see how tough you really are. I'm sick of this deception. Totally ludicrous. I observe responsibly, and I'm pretty damn proud of it. And I'd like to thank Kurt Neiman for writing this out too. And I'm going to add to the footnotes. Here is the reason the U.S. does not want peace in North Korea, and this is Peter Lee's video. So please, folks, subscribe to them. You can watch the videos because they're doing this for you guys. For every single one of us, like-minded, see things both sides, none of this partisan politics, left-right paradigm, but what's right from wrong. And that is it. I'd like to thank everyone for listening, plus feel free to download and share this about your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or you want to send me something that's interesting I may want to check out, whatever you do, please address your correspondence with decorum. You keep me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Tumblr, YouTube, Freedoms Network, Scene.life, Mayans.com, FutureNet.club, or Patreon.com/LokiLook3rd if you want to be a patron, a supporter, donate money, $1 a month. That would be great. Or you can email me at LokiLuck3@gmail.com. For those encrypted folks, LokiLuck03@protonmail.com. Alright, my friends, that's all for now. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.